these many pages here linked. So for example, this particular update page is not going to come now, or for example, this particular contact us page is not going to get updated now. In that case, the test case for this contact us page will be deferred, which is going to come in the next iteration. So if you have a test case right now, you can defer that test case and you can mark it in the comment column as next iteration. For example, if you could take it English and Spanish, you have two different languages, and now we are going to go live only with English and not with Spanish. In that case, this Spanish test cases, the test cases related to testing the Spanish language will go deferred, and this will be marked as deferred, and in comment section we will put it as this is going to get implemented in the next iteration. So when it comes to next iteration, you are going to test all these deferred test cases along with your new test case. So that is called as deferred. The next status is here descoped. Descoped is something like this particular functionality is not going to be in scope. The same example we could take Spanish. Initially, we are planning to go live with two different languages. One is English, another one is Spanish. So during first iteration, we completed English and we are deciding that Spanish can go in the next iteration. So you are marking those test cases as deferred. So when I'm planning for the next iteration, and when I monitor how my app works on live, how many users are using my app, when I view those results and when I found none of the Spanish people is going to see my site, only the people who knows English is going to see my app, in that case I don't want to put my effort on implementing this Spanish language. So I can directly descope this particular item. So in that case, all those deferred test cases can be descoped. This can also happen for new test cases as well. When I'm going to implement a particular functionality, when I'm planning for doing a particular functionality, and when it comes to real time, when I see the market or when I see how my users are going to be, when I see those data and when I think that this functionality is not going to work out, I can directly descope the same. So in that case, the relevant test cases marked to those scope will be descoped. That is called descope. When you are descoping a particular test case, you have to put it in comment that this test case is descoped because of the any requirement because of this requirement is not going to come. So because of the requirement ID so and so, this test case is descoped. Or you might get a mail confirmation from the business team or from the product owner saying that I'm not going to go live with this functionality. We are not going to go live with this functionality. We are not going to implement this anymore. In that case, you can mark this as this test case is descoped based on the mail. This mail. So you can put that mail, you can attach that mail document here and you can say because of that this is descoped. These kind of things is tracked because later after 2 years or after 6 months, when someone opens this test case document and see the status of descoped or deferred, they should know the reason why this has been descoped or deferred. Then only they will be able to relate it. So that is the reason why we use this comment section. So now, when you pass, when your status is pass, your expecting result and your actual result should meet. It should be equal. It should be similar. So here you should put it as helping testers website is active and available. It is available. So you should mark your actual result. Website is accessible as expected without any error message. So again, get mobile app. Oh, I think there's a spelling mistake. You should always do a spell check after completing your document. Is displayed at the top and clickable for the users as expected. Everything is as expected. So next one is so here you can describe the actual result. So if you have anything failed in this test case, so for example, this get mobile page is displayed, but it displayed with some error message. In that case, you have to record it here. Get mobile page is displayed as expected, but it is displayed with a error message, and this is the error message. You should specify the error message and you should mark it as fail. So this is how your test case should look. The next one comes here is, for example, here if you go to home page, we are testing the home page, right, initially. So if you're going to home page, you have share as icon. Share as on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+. So upon clicking each and every icon, it should take you to the relevant page. So this testing will also be done. This is again, we are going to test it in the home page. The module remains the same. Again, test scenario, home page. The scenario is number 2. So the next one is verification of successful sharing page on social media or social websites. Okay, so here the test case should be test case, home page, scenario 2 and scenario 1. So here the test case on home page for the scenario number 2, and this is the first test case. Here you can come up with scenario number 2, scenario number 3 by testing all the different pages here. For example, teams, updates, awards. If you keep on testing all these pages, everything will come under scenario 1. Scenario 1 is successful navigation on the home page. Any navigation part which comes under the home page for different pages will come under scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is something like social media page. This is totally different. So this comes under scenario number 2. So that's how you can implement scenario number 2 as successful navigation on updates page, successful navigation on teams page, successful navigation on awards page. Everything will come under scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 will be successful sharing on Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. Scenario number 3 would be language switching. So scenario number 4, these are the language switching. And then when it comes to the next module, what would be the next module is here the sign up. Sign up itself is a different module. So when you click on sign up, the next module is sign up. Here test scenario, home page, oh, it's not home page, this is sign up page, sorry. So here sign up page 001. So here for this module, this is the first scenario. So successful registration of new users. So when you go to sign up page, register page, you have something to register. So here you should register full name, email ID. This is your registration page. How to test this registration page? So first, successful, you should enter a full name, you should enter your email address, date, state, city, everything. So if the unsuccessful testing or the negative testing will be like entering characters here. So it should say, please enter the correct name. So when you are entering your email ID, this email ID site is actually blocked. So this itself is a defect because it should be open for the users to enter the email ID. So this is a successful testing where you have to have a .com. If you enter it without a .com, it will not go through. So these are the negative and positive testings. So verification of successful registration new users. So here again, test case, sign up module 001. So here successful registration. So you should enter the full name, enter the email ID, state, continue. So this is the successful registration. When you come to the next test script, it would be like verification of unsuccessful registration of new users. Here you will have different, for this scenario you will have different test case. How you will have different test case is like, for unsuccessful registration you may give a different name. For example, I gave numbers or I gave special characters here, and I select a different state, or I give a different city, or I didn't fill one of those. If it is a mandatory field, I didn't fill one of those, then it will become unsuccessful. So you have different test cases lined up under this unsuccessful registration. You have different negative test cases lined up under unsuccessful registration. This is how you should focus on writing the test case document. The next one is best practice for writing test cases. So far we have seen how to write a test case document, how to focus on writing a test case document. If I see a website, what all the criteria that I should put in my test case document is what right now we have seen. So now what is the best practice? So as I told you earlier, the test case has to be very simple and straight. You should not use any complicated words or a big grammatical words to describe your test case, because it should be easily understandable and it should be very simple, so that any new person coming into the team will be easily able to understand what it has to be tested. So then you should not rely on only the requirement and specification. So if I have a requirement document, I should not write test case only based on requirement document. Requirement document is also important. Apart from that, you should also think out of box. For example, if I want to write a test case for the website which I have shown you, if I didn't have the website in my hand and I have only the requirement document for that particular website, I should also think on the out of box scenarios, such as sharing the criteria on Facebook or Twitter, or if I scroll all the way down on a website, I should have some icon to go up. I should have a small icon here to go. If I click on that, I should go on top of the page. So to navigate to the topmost page, I should have an icon. These are the common things when you access any website. These are the common things which is there in that particular website. So you should also think on out of box scenarios. Next, you should always create test case from end user perspective, particularly when you are testing a mobile app or a social website or any website which is going to use by the consumers or users like us. We should always think on the user perspective while writing the test case, rather than writing technical testing cases. So rather than writing technical things, you should also think from the user perspective to write the user friendly test cases. For example, if you're opening a flight booking site, any website for booking your flight tickets, so you should always think on user perspective. You should have a round trip, you should have a one-way trip, you should have multiple stops, you should have option to click multiple stops. I'm going here, from there I'm going here, and then I'm going to the destination. You should always have filter to click multiple stops. You should always have filter to put a round trip. You should always have filter to put a one-way trip. So all these possible options which are used by customers in day-to-day life will always be there on that particular website. So any travel website, if you are testing, these are the criteria you should check it. And you should also have options for viewing the hotels if it is implemented. So all the user friendly criteria should be tested. So you should always write test case from end user perspective. Next, you should avoid the duplication. You should not repeat the test case. For example, login page, if you test the login page and after that, if you test other pages after you log in, if you test other pages, you should not repeat again the user to go login. So first you should check registration and then you should log in and then you should check for the unsuccessful login and then you should check for the forgot password and then you should check other modules after you log in. If there is any purchase, after you log in if there is any refund, those modules should be tested. While writing test case for those modules, you should not ask the user to log in again. It is understood that the login is already tested, so you should not repeat the test case for each and every time. And then next, you should always cover both positive and negative scenarios, as I told you earlier, as I shown you earlier. Any website, you should always check for both positive as well as negative scenarios. And then you have to implement few test case techniques. Test case techniques is something like boundary value analysis and equivalence partitioning, which we have seen earlier. So boundary value analysis is like, for example, for a particular text box, only the text box accepts 1 to 100. So if you give 100 and above, it should not accept. If you give 0 or negative values, it should not accept. These kind of boundary values should be tested. This is called boundary value analysis. This is one of the test case techniques. So you should implement all these test case techniques while you are writing the test case. And it is always easy and it is always helpful when you go for a peer review. In general, in organizations, when you write test case, your manager or your lead will always review your test case. And also it is easy for you to understand what you missed. If I see in one perspective and the other person may see in different perspective, and any of the test cases which go missed can be, incorporated. So it is always essential to go for a peer review or a lead review. It is always easy and it is always required for test cases to be reviewed. And then your test cases, the steps which we have seen, it should not be more than 15. If you have 20-25 steps, it's very difficult. It is so stagnant and it is very difficult to execute or understand first of all. So your test case should be simple, straight, and it should be crunched. So you should not exceed more than 15 steps. So these are the best practices for writing the test case. Thank you and all the best.